So let's talk a bit about the API economy. This is something I know you wanted to discuss. So
Yeah.
why is now the time for the API economy? Why didn't this happen 5 years ago?
I think it's an interesting question. I think there are firms that did attempt it 5 years ago. And I think one of the things they tried to do was the APIs they were creating they were all about bringing the user of the API into their monolithic system or into their world. They weren't about trying to do the kinds of things that you see Plaid or Stripe do, where they're more focused on the end customer. So in the old world of monolithic systems, I think you see basically, this closed world where there are no open APIs and people do not facilitate, you know, uh, any rapid integration of best of breed systems. And in a world where there's a volatile market, you need to be able to move quickly. So I think advisors need to control the user experience and the client experience much more than, say, the vendor. And in these old systems, like 5, 6 years ago, I think you saw vendors trying to just use an API to bring people into a closed system. That's very different than what you see with someone like Plaid or Stripe, where they're really trying to create a developer tool set that allows the tech person, either at a vendor or at a advisor, create a user or advisor experience for the end client, for the end customer. So we're taking a different approach at this, at the APIs, and we, have REST-based APIs for building all sorts of tools, but in particular, we've been focusing on portfolio trading
Hey,
and
Brian, can I
and
interrupt?
our trading network. Yeah.
So I've got a programming background, but I'm not sure all the audience does. Can you explain what a REST API is versus a non-REST API? RESTful API, right? Versus a non-REST.
Yeah. So, REST is basically enables you to, do things like, reference a web URL through what are called JSON or JavaScript objects. So you can write just simple JavaScript code to access an URL on the web and, give it a set of parameters that's in the JSON object to a server that exists on the other end of the web, and it'll do all sorts of stuff for you, return all sorts of information, allow you to get all sorts of data back. So it's a REST API allows you to really rapidly build things on top of server-based code that others have already constructed, and to do so with almost like HTML type efficiency. It's very different than some of the other previous API technologies.
Would you say that there's one thing I've read a lot about where they're talking about banking as a service, where APIs are enabling banking to no longer be somewhere you go, but a service you can provide. And would you say that order management would also become a service if it could be accessed via APIs?
Well, we certainly hope so. And we think it goes beyond that. I think we believe it extends to all of wealth management, which could include portfolio management, it could include compliance management, position management. Certainly already we've helped firms like Riskalyze build order management tools. Connected trading is an example of that. The risk management, the Riskalyze platform that we helped. So I think that's exactly right. Firms like Stripe kind of enabled a lot of the internet commerce tools out there, website tools and stuff. Firms like Plaid really built on top of, APIs, again, REST APIs to connect banking to millennial apps. I mean, it's time for wealth tech to embrace APIs, and it hasn't happened yet.
But
People are
why is that
still stuck
important?
in
I
this
mean,
old world.
why is that important?
Because
Why can't firms just use a big vendor and say, look, you guys handle it all. We don't want to deal with that. It's not our business. What's the advantage that a wealth manager firm would have by accessing these APIs versus just giving it all to a vendor?
I think the most immediate thing is you control the advisor experience. You control the user experience and the UI and the UX. So you're not stuck with whatever the vendor is providing you. And a lot of the big vendors are not very reactive because they have so many clients that they have to respond to. So it can take a long time to get new features. If you control the advisor experience, you control the UI, you can move pretty quickly to add new features as long as the API has a lot of power behind it in terms of functionality. We're getting a little more techie than I expected,
Yeah.
but go ahead.
Well, yeah, this is a tech podcast, so I'm trying to get a little
Okay.
bit, not too much, but a little bit.